Welcome to a Friday Reads, where I talk about what I've read, what I'm reading, what I hope to get to next. And, I am enjoying everything I'm reading right now. So we're winning. We're winning. And yeah, my hair's a little crazy, and it's hot, and it's humid, and I was going to film this tomorrow, but I have to pick up a shift tomorrow. So this is when the video's getting filmed. And that's just what's going to happen. So let's start. I finished Labyrinth's Heart. I don't have other thoughts. I love that book. Cool. We're good, right? We know. I love Labyrinth's Heart. It's a great book. Woo! Great reread. Fantastic. So what that meant is both physical read and audio has been death of the author time. I'm very close to the end, which is good because I have book club this weekend. So I have less than 100 pages left. I mean, I'm really enjoying this. It's not particularly science fiction-y. Like, in some ways it is, and in some ways it isn't. What I like about it is the general fiction qualities. And obviously, since Nnedi Okorafor is like a genre writer, when she chooses to throw in sci-fi tech components, it's well thought out. You can tell, like a lot of times when you read some literary fiction works or general fiction works that like throw in a sci-fi component, they're a little like, I don't know, derivative, simplistic. And I think here there's a lot more nuance to it. I will say, I think that in the timeline of Zelu, our author, who becomes famous for writing her Rust and Robot series, the tech that she gets to use because of her fame to help her with her disability is really interesting and very sci-fi. It's just very small, but like it does affect her life professionally, personally. And so that exploration of this disability aid, because, like, I think what's so fascinating about it, for me, is, like, when we get to the point in the book where she gets this opportunity to use this tech, I'm like, cool, yeah. Like, if you want to use this tech so that you can be mobile in a different way, like, it's not going to fix her legs, but it allows a different level of mobility than a wheelchair can, that's awesome. Like, that was my thought. I was a very supportive reader for Zelu in that moment. But, like, I didn't even extend that to how her family might respond, how her fans might respond, how the general public might respond. And I think its exploration of those responses was really interesting to see. I think it really highlighted how I have been lucky enough to be in a more supportive environment than the average person, maybe. So yeah, and I mean, and also there is some societal tech that we don't currently have, but are really close to. Like, so the sci-fi in Zelu's perspective is very near future, but it is still futuristic. Like, we have this taxi service in Chicago that is autonomous cars, and I know we're getting close to self-driving cars, and we've tried that with mixed success, but like, it seems pretty fully functioning for her, and it's one of the ways that she has autonomy. So like, these techs being used within conversation of how she's paraplegic and she wants more autonomy, wants more independence, I think is really good and really strong. The discussion about the book itself, the discussion about the movie they make off the book, her personality is very interesting to me because, there are moments where I really sympathize with her, and there are moments where I'm just like, okay, that's not how I would respond, and that's fine. We are different people. That's fine. Like, she's a real person, though. Like, I think what's happening in this Nnedi Okorafor that hasn't happened to me in other works by her is, like, this is a person, like a character that's incredibly fleshed out for me. A lot of other times when I have read her works, characters would make decisions, and it's not like I don't think that it makes sense for the character, it's that I haven't been let in enough to understand the decision the character is making emotionally. And I just prefer to have a closer perception to a character when that happens, and that's happening in this book. There are chapters that are the Rust and Robot chapters. There are some interesting parallels to Zelu's life, Zelu's relationship to her Nigerian half, because she's, both her parents are from Nigeria, but within Nigeria, one's Igbo and one's Yoruba, and so that's just its whole thing. And then on top of that, she's diaspora and lives in Chicago, in the United States. So, there's a lot of cultural baggage that comes with that, and that definitely bleeds into her robot book. The robot book, like, is okay. I'm just like, I'm glad it's not like a huge part of the book so far. I don't even know if it really had to be in the book. Like, I think it's fine that it's in the book. I much more like the interviews. Like, the things I like about this book are more the general fiction qualities. More the interpersonal relationships, more the struggles. And I like the writing voice. Like, this is well written. And it reads so easily for me, physically or audio. So I don't know what's going to happen. I know the ending is contentious. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of people have opinions about the ending, and I still don't know how many meanings death of the author is bringing to this, right? Because we always have the phrase death of the author, like the work survives past the author. Once it's in the world, it's not the author's anymore. But then there is also, again, this looming thing with these interviews. I'll also say another piece of tech that I do consider sci-fi tech, if again, not low, near future sci-fi, like it's not like groundbreaking, is she has this kind of like AI assistant on her phone. Which, like, I know nowadays, you know, we all have that, but I think it's like an extrapolation of that. So yeah, I don't know. I think like this could easily be my favorite Nnedi Okorafor. We'll see. Another thing I've been reading is Uncertain Suns and Other Stories by Thomas Ha. This is like, Thomas Ha writes short stories, and this is a good short story collection. I don't think it's going to be like my favorite of all time, but every short story is so easy to read. And what I mean by that is there is momentum. Sometimes if you pick up a short story, you gotta let it cook. It's not like easy for you to understand, why am I here? Like, why am I hanging out here for 35 minutes? Like, why am I doing this? And these short stories always have a hook. And it's very much, because this is like sci-fi horror dystopian stories. So every time it's like, well, what's the truth? Like, what's happening? And then it is always attaching itself to our actual problems. Sometimes very obviously, sometimes a little more subtly. Like there's definitely a story in here that's about AI and creating art and stuff like that. I think that one's called The Mub. Have I talked about The Mub yet? I don't know. But The Mub's interesting. Yeah, I might not have talked about The Mub yet. Like, so since I last checked, I think I've read The Mub, House Traveler, Where the Old Neighbors Go, and Balloon Season. I'm currently in the middle of Sweet Baby. And like, I've largely enjoyed my time actively reading all of these, which is huge for short stories and me. They don't overstay their welcome. Like I said, the momentum is really good. The motivation to keep going is effortless, and the sentences just generally flow. I wouldn't necessarily say it's like particularly stylized or anything like that, but I also wouldn't say it's bare bones. Like there's just like a really solid quality to it where it's not getting in your way, but like I also feel like I could tell when I'm reading a Thomas Ha story now, especially thematically. There are definitely things he loves to ruminate on. Passivity is a big one. Like I know I've talked about Thomas Ha's works like in my country, but he loves having passive characters and putting them in outlandish situations and trying to see how far can I push this character and will they remain passive. That's huge. The one I'm reading right now, Sweet Baby, I'm actually really interested in. I want to, after I film this video, get back to it. I think that one is actually a character surrounded by passivity and doesn't actually want to remain passive, and I think it has to do with abuse. Balloon Season, definitely, I think In My Country does the theme of Balloon Season better, but Balloon Season was still, like, visually intriguing. People have to, like, protect their homes every balloon season, so insert wildfire season or hurricane season, like, a thing. And, you know, there are people who go out to actively protect people from these balloon parasite things. And our main character's brother is one of those. And the brother's trying to get him to do it. And he's like, I can't. And you can't use us anymore. And it's just like, it's pretty simplistic in its theme. But then also the visuals of the balloons were so like, whoa. So I think it was effective, if not straightforward. And Where the Old Neighbors Go was like kind of folk horror. Like, I really like very rural horror, unsettling vibes. And then, let's see, House Traveler. House Traveler was probably my least favorite because it was a little more liminal space sci-fi horror, maybe more horror. And I'm just always a mixed bag on liminal space situations. I'm always like, what's real, what's not real? Someone tell me. And that doesn't always work because that's not the point. So this is really solid. I have a few more stories. This also has the story The Brother of Montague St. Video, which probably should have won the Hugo, but instead we gave it to a Hugo Darling. A Hugo Darling I even love, but that story wasn't better. Anyways. And then while I was waiting for my phone to charge, because I realized, oh, I need to film this, and my phone didn't have battery, and I film things on my phone, I was like, well, I should maybe pick what I would read next, or at least try something. And recently I was able to pick up Sunward from the library. And I didn't realize how short it is. This is such a short book. And I'm like, that sounds cool. And I've been wanting to read Sunward for a really long time. The editor of Sunward is I think the editor of like Buffalo Hunter. So I've always really liked the projects he puts time into. So I was just like, maybe I'll try this. Let's just see what happens. Let's just see. And I've already read the first part. It has 6 parts. And first of all, like the physicist in me, like these are the names of the parts, okay? Part 1, a body in motion. Part 2, tends to stay in motion. Part 3, unless acted upon by a force. Part 4, a body at rest. Part 5, tends to stay at rest. Part 6, unless acted upon by a force. Like, okay, fine, let's just do some Newton's laws of motion. Let's do it. And I'm really liking this. I mean, I think for some people, I think some things exposition-wise have been like a smidge clunky, but also it didn't bother me. So, because the whole premise is our main character, Captain Tova Lear, L-I-R. She's a courier, because in this time of space travel, the only way to send a secure message, because the actual like radio waves are never secure, is you have to have a courier. And also as a courier, as like a side gig, she fosters little mini AI bots. So cute. And we meet Agatha, and Agatha Panza von Sparkles, which is, I think, the first word of the book, and I chuckled. And so she's a foster to these bots. Like, already, I love a foster storyline. Like, I eat that up. Is Shazam a good movie? No. Is the foster line great? Yes. I don't know. Foster things get me. So she's this caregiver mother type with a juvenile AI as a courier. And so sometimes if the exposition feels a little heavy-handed, I'm like, yeah, but she's teaching the bot. Like, she has to teach the bot. Like, there's a reason for it. And this first part, like, they are discovering a wreckage, and they're exploring that, and then they learn news of something bad that's happening and need to adjust to save themselves. The things I'm liking most, again, is the whole caregiver, foster mom, bot situation. I'm like really into that. So I'm hoping that sticks. And we're going sunward because when they met something in the ether of space, their last wish was to be thrown into the sun. So I assume that's why we're going sunward. So yeah, this is really short. And like, it's not only is it really short, like if you open this, it's like, there's a lot of good space here. It's not like, it's like 1.5 space, 14 to 16 font, pretty good margins. So yeah, I mean, it's only 200 some pages, so it's gonna be in and out. It's like 208 pages, and I'm already 25 pages in. So this seems like a good winner for my next read after I catch up on my short stories, finish Death of the Author. And if I need a romance, I did start's a strong word. I have on my Kindle the sequel to First Time Caller. Gosh, if I can remember. The one about the weatherman in First Time Caller. The blue book that you're seeing a picture of. In terms of things I'm watching, caught up on House of the Dragon. Not ready for what's gonna happen. I don't even know what's gonna happen. I just know where Game of Thrones starts. Okay? But I can extrapolate. Things will not go well. Because that's how this show is. I do think there's a lot of things that are just like mysteries of Westeros and larger lands that I'll just like never know. And I'm like, I would like to know. I know it's not the point. Like, I don't know. What happened to old Valyria? We know it got destroyed. Was it hubris? Like, was it what Krypton-ass nonsense happened here? Like, what happened? Was it the Valyrians? Was it the dragons? Was it just a natural disaster? Was it a little bit of all of it? I don't know. Maybe I should know. Maybe there is a book that says it. But when I tried to Google, it was not clear. You know, like, and still from the original series, why the White Walkers? And then they're also, like, the show conflates it, but there was, like, White Walkers and others, and they were different. And why? Like, in my head, I'm like, well, you're an analogy for climate change, but also why? Like, I wish I could be the reader who is content to have 5 books in A Song of Ice and Fire. I am not. So I don't reread it. So I don't go back to it. But boy, if we ever do get an ending, probably won't, but if we ever do, I'll be the first to reread. No, I won't be the first, but I'll be with the other people. Because I actually do think me as a reader now versus me as a reader in 2011 would appreciate this series a lot more in the project it's doing. As it stands, I am an endings person. It is not always about the journey for me, so here we are. Also caught up on Silo Season 3. Generally okay with it so far. I think it's more interesting than Season 2. Mainly because I guess whenever you add in the plot device you've added in, it adds for some fun times. And also, I do like that it has flashbacks. Like, if you're someone who's like, I would like the origin, I think we're getting bits and pieces of that. And it's quite nice. I do love an origin to a dystopia. Like, I eat that up. Catnip. Absolute catnip. So yeah, that's my shows. That's my books. That's my check-in. Bye. Let me know what you're reading, doing, watching. If you want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here, leave a sun. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.